This episode of Convert to Raid is brought to you in part by Audible. With over 150,000 audiobooks and counting, what are you waiting for? Try Audible free for 30 days and get your free audiobook just for signing up right now. Audible.com/Gamebreaker. Welcome home, Raiders. This week, we've got news from the PTR, so get your heirlooms and cloak quests now, please. We'll be chatting about healing and WoD, taking your questions, and a lot more. This is CTR 156.
You're listening to Convert to Raid.
Convert to Raid.
The podcast for raiders in the world of Warcraft.
The Convert to Raid podcast power station in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today is September 21st, right? Yeah, 21st. 2014. It is now 11:20 a.m. Off to a late start. Bit of a late start today. That's all right. Don't worry about it. My name is Pat Crane. I'm also known as Zug around Airy Peak, U.S. Still raiding with the well, we'll get into why raiding may not necessarily be the correct term with my Resto Druid right now, but, you know, whatever. But the players are here, as usual, like this guy from someplace very wet. It's Darius!
It's Seattle. You can't tell the rain, the deluge coming down.
That does not look like Seattle.
This is Seattle. Trust me, this is Seattle.
Yeah, if you guys aren't watching the video show, watch the video show. That's what I'm saying. So,
yep.
I don't know. All right. Well, let's go to someplace different with another guy. Because I don't know what's going on anymore. It's Coltrane. Hi, Colt.
I'd bet you 6 Mimeron heads that I've got a fortune cookie for you, my friend.
No.
Fortune cookie say.
Oh, boy.
A paladin with ADHD finds it hard to consecrate. Huh? Yeah. Like,
no.
Concentrate, but it's...
That's
consecrate.
That's it.
No?
No.
That's
what?
the show.
No.
That's a good show, guys.
That's
See,
it. We started late, but
consecrate?
we started late, but we ended early. That's amazing.
Oh, come on, man. Oh, that was great. It might have been delivery. I think that's brilliant. Oh, I'm seeing 10 out of 10. Here come the laws. Yes. Oh, baby. Oh, let it wash over me. All right, hold on. I forgot to write down who that from. That came to me via Twitter.
Yeah.
And that was from, and this is important.
Well, time to shut down Twitter.
Oh my gosh. Oh no, it reset itself. That was that wonderful fortune cookie. I am in no way trying to delay whatsoever. I'm going to get right to it. That was from the amazing, the wonderful, the incredible, amazing, incredible, wonderful person known as...
Coltrane.
As Baz R on Twitter. Barry Rhodes. Barry Rhodes on Twitter.
Right.
Saved that one at the last possible minute.
Right. Because we were going to move on. You know that this show is only an hour and a half. You know that, right?
Right. Yeah. I know. You're right. No, Barry Rhodes. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you for the tweet.
I'm seeing a lot of zeros, a lot of twos.
I'm seeing a lot of 100 out of 10s.
Right.
15 out of 10s.
Right.
That's not even real, so those don't
100
count.
out of 10 bongos.
Those are invalid.
You can't even get that. You can't even get that. That's not a thing. All right, so let's go through and what's been going on this week in WoW for you fellas. Apparently, you're both now in the game. I have no idea what's going on. So, Colt, what's been going on with you, buddy?
I had an amazing time yesterday with Final Boss TV and Brutal Static.
Yeah.
And we did the Epic WoW Battles of History Retro Raid Race Part 1. And what it was this amazing event, and it was shoutcasted by myself and Anna Feel, and we did like this live shoutcast, and it was Alliance versus Horde. Bay was Alliance, Brutal was Horde.
Yeah.
They were both 25-man raid teams, and we went back to a Vanilla raid, a Burning Crusade raid, Wrath of the Lich King raid, Cataclysm, and it was a race to see who would win. Like, you know, which is faster, and there were EP points, you know, for least amount of deaths, and it was a ton of fun. And it was a blast. So I highly recommend you check out youtube.com/finalbosstv or youtube.com/brutalstatic, BRUTALL static, and check out the different POVs. And it was live shoutcasted by myself and Anafiel, and it was amazing. It was really a good time.
So you went.
That was part one.
So part one covers what exactly?
Well, that first one was called Paint It Black, and then that covers. It's a retro raid race, so it's like we do raids from all the different expansions. I just bumped the mic. Right. And then part two is going to be the same thing, but just different raids. And then part three. And at the end, all the times are going to be tallied up, and we're going to see who's better, Alliance or Horde. So it was really great. Right. The chat room was fantastic, cheering on Alliance, cheering on Horde. It was really a lot of fun. So part one, I believe, is on YouTube right now. And then next weekend, next Saturday, will be part two. And then the following Saturday, part three.
So you're doing different raids every time?
Yes. Okay. Like next week, the classic raid, I think, is AQ. On Courage.
That's cool.
And Dragon Soul for Cataclysm. So anyway, it was a ton of fun, and I highly recommend you guys check it out.
You gotta find ways to entertain yourself in this time where we're waiting for the expansion to drop, people.
Right.
And this is another way you can do it. It's really actually pretty cool. I like it.
That's fun.
Sure. So Darius, what's been going on in your WoW world?
Let's see. So Asparagus Initiative went in, and we killed the bugs a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then this past week, we killed the trash before Heroic Gary.
Oh wait, no, that's not really a thing. That's not
what?
really. That's not really.
We're still working on Heroic Gary.
Yeah.
We haven't killed him yet.
Are you Heroic Gary trash or actual Heroic Gary?
Well, we killed the trash.
The trash.
The trash is not a problem.
No problem.
13.5 out of 14.
Well, that's good. How far is the progression on Heroic Gary?
We're not quite into the final phase, but we're pretty close to it. We're making some pretty good progress. We should have him down either tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is contributed to the fact that Zug isn't there. So
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not having to carry him.
Right. That makes all the difference. That's terrible. Darius, look, Zug went quiet. Poor Zoggers.
I think,
it's okay. It's okay.
Crying.
It's all right. It's all right.
Zoggers.
I'll be over here in this corner just crying.
Oh, Zoggers.
It's fine. This is part of the deal, though. If you want to be a part of a progression minded group, you want to make sure that the group is doing everything that it can to succeed at the boss that it's currently working on. Right now, we're currently working on Heroic Gary, and Heroic Gary doesn't need all the healers.
Yeah, we're 3 healing it, so
yeah,
we've got a lot of people sitting.
So there are a couple of other healers actually sitting out on this fight. It's not just me.
Oh my gosh, you got benched?
Yeah. I'm riding Pine.
You're riding Pine. That's insane.
Yeah, so I'm riding Pine. However, I will let you know that my Hearthstone leveling has been going really well.
Yes, fantastic.
I am up to I think rank 12 now.
That's great.
That's pretty good. Not bad at all.
Oh, come on. You got to put Zug in.
No.
got to be in there.
No, here's the deal.
Do your awesome Boomkin deeps.
Yeah.
No, that's
when those show up in the mail,
right,
we'll stick them in.
Right. Well, but the problem is that there's a couple of things. So we have a large team already. If everybody is there on a given night, I think we have roughly 57 people.
It's
on the
realistically,
roster.
It's like 36 or something like that. But yeah, we have a lot of people.
We have a lot of people on the roster. So we have people that have been, that are in deep with deeps. And if you switch me over to Boomkin, it's not necessarily going to be that bad. I mean, it's not going to be that good. It's not going to be that awesome. So I understand it. And when you're in a progression group, you have to go with your best players for those different roles. And so it's not just me that's sitting out. There are 1 or 2 other healers sitting out. And we're not switching over. We're just getting benched for right now.
But don't you understand? Oh, you need the power of Zug. The power of Zug.
So I think it's less Zug and more Resto Druids. Right now, I think we're running 2 Disc Priests and a Resto Shaman, and that's it.
Yeah, you don't, and that's the other problem. And we'll probably get into this later. Is that healing is broken. Healing really is broken when you are at the end of the expansion, especially right now with Disc Priests and Chamois being so amazing right now, especially for 25-man stuff. Resto Druid is kind of lackluster. It's always playing catch up, especially if you have a couple of Disc Priests on your team. It's tough.
Well, wait till 6.0 hits. They're calling Warlords of Draenor, the Rise of the Resto Druid.
Yeah, seriously. That is what I'm waiting for, and we'll talk more about this as we get into the show, I'm sure. But, you know, it is kind of one of those things where you have to just kind of, you know, play your part. And my part right now is riding pine.
Oh, that breaks me hard.
But I'm okay with it. But I'm okay with it. And I still, you know, I watch everything on the Darius does a live stream of the event because, you know, we're not going to go without a tank. Very sad. Anyway, so when he's streaming, I watch the stream. I listen to the guys in Mumble. I stay in Mumble because there are some important things. There are some roles that I can play, even sitting on the bench, that I can maybe, you know, see, check out, whatever, and you know, keep up with logs and whatever. So
once we kill it, and next week when half the raid team quits because we finished Siege of Orgrimmar, then we'll have room for you.
Right, and that is the important thing. Is that I've been in on. I think I've been in on like 5 or 6 pulls total out of the 2 weeks that we've been working on Gary. So, you know, it's all right. I look at it this way. I have seen this fight. I have seen Heroic Gary, the beginning of this fight, and I've participated in it, and that is more than 98% of the people in WoW, which is crazy. True. So I feel pretty good about where I'm sitting right now. So I'm okay.
All right, fair enough.
I'm okay.
Someone in the chat room said Zug is an amazing cheerleader. That would be true if not every time we called on him, it was what? No, I wasn't sleeping. What?
I wasn't having a little bit of bourbon. No, that's not the case. You don't drink in raid, right, guys? No drinking in raid.
Never drink in raid.
No. All right, let's go through a couple of programming notes before we move the show along further, because we do have some things to tell you guys. Next week, no show.
What?
I have to go to
what?
I have to go to Colorado. I have to go out of town. So I have to go out of town. We can't have the show next week. Don't worry about it. We'll be back the following week in October. Right?
I will be here. I'm just going to talk to myself like I do every Sunday. Turn my computer, and I'm just going to talk to myself.
That's good.
That's correct.
That's good. But we'll be back in October, and we may have a couple of very special guests joining us.
Yes.
So,
like insane special guests.
Yes. We'll just have to wait on that to confirm. I need to confirm and
that's right.
all that kind of fun stuff.
Tease it, but we're going to tease the heck.
But I'm going to tease the heck out of it because I only have this show to do it.
That's right. So the only chance.
So, and the other thing that I want to talk to you guys about is BlizzCon, a little bit. So we're having a party. We had a party last year. It was fairly successful. It was pretty good. It was a good time. It was very hot in there though. Very hot.
Yes, it was.
So
it was hot last year.
So this year we're improving the space. We're getting more space with a higher ceiling, so that we can accommodate more people and still have fun and stay cool. But in the coming weeks, probably next show, we'll have ways that you guys can help us out. So we'll be talking more about that probably next week as well, or next show as well. So just letting you guys know. Things are in the pipeline for everything. It's all moving for. We're only like a month away from BlizzCon. Well, month and a half.
Things are in the pipeline of the toilet of life. Yes, they are moving right through.
That's right.
Right through that pipeline.
That's right. Yes.
Why do we always have to talk about the bathroom?
You're right. I'm sorry.
Speaking of pipes, let's talk about exhaust pipes real quick.
Oh, look at that segue.
Hey, don't point it out, and then it's not a good segue. What are you nuts?
That wasn't a good segue.
It was a great segue.
It was a horrible segue. I will be first to admit that. That's right. So if you are one of those guys that's waiting to get in on the next expansion and you're just kind of waiting to renew your subscription, there's one reason why you may want to actually log in before September 30th, before the end of this month. And that is if you want to get your free Horde chopper. Right?
Woo!
So if you like motorcycles in your World of Warcraft, just September 30th. And all you have to do is log in, right?
That's it.
I think that's it. And then your hard character gets a free new mount, and your alliance character, nope, they're still screwed.
Yeah, you'll have to pay 100,000 gold for yours.
Something like $1 million gold for it.
I think it was 100,000 is the current going price.
Yeah.
Which, by my calculations on the beta, are roughly 1 day worth of dailies.
Is that it?
Right.
No,
Right.
it's
Just
gold.
one.
Gold is kind of, there's a lot of gold to go around right now, but
All right. Well,
we'll see.
That's good. I like that because my bank account right now is not looking good.
Yeah,
That's all.
one bank account.
It never has though, so it's fine. It's fine. The other thing that we have to bring up before we actually go into rating news and all that kind of fun stuff is I want to talk to you about the collector's edition. Now, now Blizzard came out with a post this week that was talking about the upgrade to the collector's edition, how you should do that. And I know, Darius, you were talking about this show before the show started about this a little bit, and I'm just going to let you kind of go nuts on this. What is going on with this whole thing?
So what Blizzard has said is they understand that there's a lot of people out there that want to get the collector's edition, myself included. I want to get the physical stuff. I want to get the Diablo thing and the StarCraft thing and all that kind of stuff, the pet and whatnot. But right now, I really want the boost. And I can't get that until I get the collector's edition. I also can't play Warlords on launch day until my collector's edition shows up or I go to the store and get it.
Right.
I don't really want to go to a Best Buy or something at midnight. So what they're saying is from their post is say, if you're looking for the free character boost, but also want those sweet collector's edition physical items, they've set something up. They say, just follow these steps, and they make it seem like it's real easy. And I don't think so. So they say pre-purchase a digital version of Warlords of Destruction now and begin using the included character boost immediately.
Right.
So pay, $60 and get a free character boost, but also get Warlords that you can't use.
Right.
Says then pick up your collector's edition pre-order on 11/13. That's launch day.
Yep.
Open it up and get a little emotional because of how beautiful it is.
Okay.
Yes.
They say enter your collector's edition key in your BattleNet account management page.
Yeah.
And then contact Blizzard support for a replacement of your original standard edition key and give that key to a friend.
This is the problem that I have. It was everything up to that last little step. Right? So they say, okay, you can buy it now and use all the fun little things and be set for launch day and whatever. But then when you go and you get the collector's edition, get a replacement key for the original one and give that away to somebody else.
But yeah,
it doesn't.
So buy the game twice.
It hurts my brain.
Akig Xanadar in the chat room says, and then have them pay you for the regular edition once you have the extra copy. Maybe you do that.
So then your friend won't be able to play the game until you get your collector's edition.
Right. Yeah. So you basically what Blizzard is saying is pay for your friend to play with you later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, I do not want to buy it twice.
So I had this problem with Mists of Pandaria. I wanted there was something that came with the collector's edition. I don't remember what it was, but it only came with the collector's edition. the physical collector's edition.
Yeah.
But I wanted that thing, whatever. In this case, it's a boost, but it was something else from Mop. I wish I could remember what it was. But I wanted that, and I wanted to be able to play at midnight and whatnot. So I contacted support and said, hey, is there anything I can do? And they actually flagged my account as having the collector's edition, even though I hadn't purchased it. And they said, when your edition comes, your regular one, just tell us, and we will swap it over to your key that you get in the mail. That's not what they're doing this time, though. They're making us jump through all these hoops and basically purchase it twice.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there that want this collector's edition that have been saving up for the collector's edition and don't have another $60.
I know.
To buy the game again.
I don't. The biggest problem and you better answer that phone. You answer that phone. I'm hearing a buzz in the background.
Vibration Nation over there. Vibration Nation kicked into old school.
He's getting some serious
very angry about this. Yeah,
right.
People are upset.
It's Blizzard CS. Their customer support is calling you right now.
But I mean, it is kind of one of those things where I'm like, why did you write a post about this? Why did you write a post about this in such an upbeat way and tell people to buy it twice and be kind of flippant about it? It seems kind of ridiculous. I don't like this. I don't like this post at all. It just makes me feel weird.
Well, I think
feel weird.
It makes me feel like dirty in some way. I don't know.
I don't know. It's almost this little like backhanded, like it just doesn't. If you want this, just buy it normally and don't worry about it. Like we'll give you the old key back, but you still have to sell it on the black market.
Right, and that's
what it is. They're encouraging you to go down to the docks at midnight and get in
Same
black
place
market.
You sell your iPhone 6s and your kidneys.
Right.
Right, exactly.
I think where this came from, because I actually, 2 days before this post went up, I went to Blizzard support and asked if they could do something very similar to this. And they were like, oh, if Darius needs this, then everybody obviously needs it.
Well, there you go.
That's where it came from.
That's where it came from. So
he's got his finger on the pulse of the people.
It's all your fault. So
what I'm trying to say is, does anyone want to buy a copy of Warlords?
Yes, right. I got a standard edition ready to go.
Standard edition ready to go, yeah.
You just can't play it until UPS delivers my collector's edition on launch day.
But is there a way that we can, I don't know, blame somebody?
I think so. I think there's one who deserves the blame. It could be Celestalon.
Yeah, and I think that you guys are not hearing that that
we're
music.
Not. So I will go,
awesome.
Yes!
Awesome.
Yes!
It is always playing in my head, so
I can't hear it. And we couldn't hear the intro music either.
Really? That's funny.
I even typed in Skype, I'm like, no music. And then you made a little middle finger symbol at me. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm just saying.
Right. No, that's totally exactly what happened. I don't know. Anyway, let's get into the rating news. But before we do, I want to say thank you to our the people that are helping support this show, and one of them is Harry's. Harry's.com. And I've been talking about this for a few weeks and still using it. And I'm at the point now where I need to reorder. And I'm like, okay, well, it's reorder time. They make it really nice and easy, actually. They're not only can you save a bunch of money, and what they say is if you are a everyday shaver, you can save like $150 a year by going to Harry's.com. But not only that, you can actually sign up for like your own personalized shave plan. Like they will send you stuff every couple of months as you need it. So if you're like an everyday shaver, you'd get like more stuff. And if you're like me and don't do it necessarily every day, maybe it's not every couple of months that you get it. Maybe it's like 4 months down the road. And you can get your own personalized plan, but it all gets delivered right to your door, and you can save actually a lot of money. I was looking around, and I'm like going, really? It's for that much? Huh. So go to Harry's.com. That's HARRYS.com. And like I've been talking about, you can get your own starter pack with the razor and the blades and the cream and all that kind of stuff. Go to Harry's.com and you can get $5 off your first purchase with the promo code of Gamebreaker. Go do it. Save money. And man, I tell you, the blades actually work. They do. They work well. The ladies like it. Well, my lady likes it, and that's all I care about.
There it is.
So
Shave your way to freedom.
That's-
Harrys.com.
That's
Do I have
right.
to change my name to Harry?
No,
For other people too.
I don't think so.
Are you sure it's not Dairies.com?
I don't think so. No, it's Harry's, HARRYS.com, and then you enter in the code GameBreaker. That's what you do for the $5 off.
I'm not changing my name, but
that's
that
it.
sounds like a good deal.
And by the way, I think I figured out what was wrong with the music. So here we go, right into the news.
Calling all raiders from around World of Warcraft land. This is raiding news.
I fixed it, didn't I?
You did?
Yeah, you did.
All right, it's time to check out what's happening with the rating news around World of Warcraft land. And first up, no cloak for you. That's
What?
No cloak for you.
No cloak for me.
No cloak for you. That's what I'm titling this. There are some changes with 6.0.2 on the PTR, and as it will launch into game, whenever that is, and we think it's probably it's October sometime, right?
Yeah, probably in the next 2-3 weeks.
Yeah. So hopefully by next show, if not the next one. So yeah. And so there are going to be some big changes, including people that want to get the cloak that might get kind of screwed out of the deal. This is a limited time offer here, folks. This cloak thing. Who knew?
Limited as in 2 years.
Well, you've only had 2 years to get it. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Yeah, I have not had enough time to get this cloak. This is outrageous. I mean, come on. What are you, nuts? I'm just kidding.
Well,
There's actually a lot of people are upset about this.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you're talking about your alts and all that kind of fun stuff. And just in general, I mean, this is the first limited time legendary we've seen, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's why people are upset, because you won't, in next expansion, you're not going to be able to go back and get it. It's
right.
This is it. Which I'm all right with.
I'm okay with. But you already have like 4 cloaks.
I have
Or
way
some-
too many.
or something
But yeah,
like that.
I've always thought this is what legendary should be. That's it. You get it. It's legendary. You have it, and like once it moves on, once the game moves on, it should move on away from that legendary. It would make the people that got Warglaze back in the day or Sulfurous or things like that so much more. Those items so much more legendary for having done it and kept with it. And
Well, and they've kind of done that in the past, haven't they? Because I mean, when you've seen it before, like the glaives and stuff like that, they stay at the same level. They can't be transmogged into your current stuff, so you can't just like show off that you got Warglaves last week and you one shot Illidan. Big deal. Who cares? So I mean, they've kind of done that a little bit, but this one's a little bit different because I just think it's kind of strange because you can still get your mage staff if you want to from Cataclysm, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
There's still a lot of legendaries you can get. There's a few you can't get, but this one's going to away the others.
The big thing too is like the mage staff. You don't have to get Valor. You have to get those little cinders and the blah blah blah. You got to collect all that stuff, but that's stuff that like drops off the bosses as part of their loot table.
Right.
But in this case, you have to get a big part of the Valor. There's a lot of. I mean, I don't know.
The Valor's going away.
I know the Valor's going away, but like it's interesting. Like Erodus in the chat room says, "I'm switching mains and it hinders me from getting it, which kind of sucks." And no, that's true. If you're about to switch mains, 6.0 is going to hit soon. Very soon, 6.0 is going to be here. And you're going to get a feel for your class and essentially your new class. Like, do you like it? Do you like the new rotation? Do you like how it feels? And let's say you don't. Let's say you want to play Warrior now, right? You want to play Arms Warrior. You like this new rotation of the Arms Warrior. Well, let me get that cloak because that's going to help me level up. Nope, that's not going to happen. So I can understand that side of it. The thing that I'm a little like is people saying I haven't had enough time, that kind of thing. I would agree. I would not agree with that. Basically, I think we've had enough time at this point to at least get the cloak on one character. Maybe not all your alts, but we've had a good chunk of time here.
Yeah,
to get it on.
Yes, you've had enough time to get one cloak at least, which is nice.
And if you're on it now, even if you just picked up the quest, you can still finish it until Warlords comes out. And when 6.0 hits, they're taking the Valor part out.
Right.
So
Yes.
You can still finish it if you haven't yet.
So what they're actually doing is they're taking out your ability to start the quest for the cloak at 6.0.2. So when that hits live, you will no longer be able to pick up the initial quest line to get you started into that whole thing. But the problem is that you only have a few weeks. You'll only have a few weeks to get all of the other stuff. And thankfully, they're taking like the Gaze of the Black Prince, that buff. They're extending that through until Warlords hits, I believe, right? And then just to make sure that everybody that wants their cloak has the best possible opportunity to get their cloak. So that's nice. But you only have until Warlords, and then it's gone. It's no longer going to be available at all.
And they're not, some people are a little confused. They think they're taking the cloak out because they kind of, when they first announced this, worded it a little weird. But the cloak isn't going away.
No.
The legendary cloak is not going away. Just your ability to get it, or rather, as you said, start the quest line. That's it.
Right.
The cloak isn't leaving.
Right.
Yeah. And also, I've been hearing that its cloak is going to be great for leveling, but I've heard at level 100, the proc will actually not work. So we are going to be replacing these cloaks at level 100. Once we do hit 100, we're going to get the new blues and the new stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but it definitely will help out for the leveling process for sure.
Well, and the other thing is that it might be kind of weird for those guys, like we were talking about before, the ones that are switching mains or planning to switch mains for Warlords and don't have the cloak on that particular character.
Right.
We want to try out Mythic raiding in Siege. We want to check that stuff out, and that is where it might get a little weird for raiders around. So you can't expect the proc to save you if you're a tank or whatever the case may be. So it might get a little tough, might get a little weird for that stuff. But then again, it's more or less to help you understand your class. So I think it'll be fine in the long run. The other thing that you will not be able to get when 6.0.2 hits are heirlooms.
What?
You won't be able to get PvE heirlooms for all the vendors who sell heirlooms for Justice points. Those guys, they're taking a vacation.
Aww.
According to Bashiok. Yeah, they're heading down to Cabo for a while.
That's good. Those guys need a break.
Yeah, so it's and again, it's not like you haven't had time to purchase them, but if you haven't yet and you are planning on leveling up a tune for Warlords, go get them now. That's kind of the deal. They're reworking the way that we're gonna get these, and until they have the system in place, they're just gonna take it offline. So the guys are going down to Cabo for a little bit and taking a little bit of a break.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
Nope.
How many heirlooms do you guys have already, though?
All of them.
Well, you even have the 3 hats that you could transmog.
Some of them I have twice. I have a few of them twice, but I have all of them.
Right.
I may have purchased the same one twice on accident, maybe.
Right.
Was like, oh, I need this chess piece. And then I buy it. And then like a month down the road, I'm on some random alt and I check the bank and, oh, I have that chess piece. So I think we've all
been there a few times. Yeah.
I may have done that more than once. Actually.
I think I may have multiple heirlooms across multiple servers.
Yes.
And yeah. It's kind of the same deal. Yeah. So that's that for heirlooms. I don't need any more. I'm fine. I'm set. I think from now on, I'm just going to buy a level 90.
And now that they're going gold, you're not even going to be able to afford them. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, unless of course Warlords has more gold, then I'll be fine again. So it'll be good. All right. There were some other things to the PTR that I wanted to bring up because I did not notice these before, and I think that they're new. One is about legacy raid changes, so about older raids, and I like this. I like these changes that I'm seeing. First of all, in Ulduar, Thorum no longer resets when his arena is empty, so you can go and solo it, which is great.
Mm-hmm. In the mountain.
ICC, the door leading past Valithria, is now open by default. And
Please heal me.
You can just skip the encounter completely, which is great, so you can solo that. And Dragon Soul, if you're above level 86, you can solo queue for Raid Finder difficulty.
Get off my spine.
I think that is so cool.
Right.
I'm jazzed about this stuff. I don't know where you guys sit. I just like seeing all this stuff being available for solo folks to go in and just see what they can do.
So explain this. So you can solo queue for the Dragon Soul on Raid Finder difficulty.
Right. So you can go in, you can actually queue up for LFR as a solo. You just talk to the guy outside of the instance, and you can't do it the regular way, but you can do it by talking to the guy just outside of the instance, and you'll be fine. And then you can go in and solo.
Now,
everything.
Does that mean, that they're going to be, is Dragon Soul the first? They're going to be doing this for all of them?
Well, this is the first one that has the Raid Finder difficulty, right? So I'm guessing that this is something that they're going to be doing throughout.
Maybe a little testy test on Dragon Soul, see if the people like it, and then maybe institute this, because this would be great, man. There's a lot of stuff that, be able to, I don't know. That's kind of crazy.
When that hits, you should have Brutal and Bay go at it solo LFR difficulty, and then live stream that.
Well, it's funny because we actually, part of the Epic WoW battles next week is Dragon Soul.
Oh, so, DW is back.
Yeah, it is, man. It is.
That's cool. So I like that stuff. I'm jazzed anytime that they make it a little bit more fun, a little bit more diverse for people to go do their own thing. And sure, I want to kill Deathwing solo. That'd be epic. Come on, I don't care what difficulty it is. That would be epic, though.
I want to kill the toes of Deathwing again solo.
The toes.
Yeah,
the toes.
Grr.
Okay, let's move it along into healing. Let's talk some healing. Let's maybe I should get on some healing music or something. No, I won't do that. But last week, Ian Hazzikostas, he went to the forums and talked about healing for Warlords, and kind of compared it with Cataclysm healing, because that's kind of been the comparison. And I don't know how much you guys keep up with the healing side of things anymore. Probably not at all.
Healers. DPS kills bosses. That is all.
Healing kills DPS. Wait,
that's true.
That's
true.
That's my job every week. Make sure everybody dies. So there were some things, and I think I want to start it out with his comparisons of Cataclysm versus Warlords. So here are some things that were happening in Cataclysm versus things that are going to be happening in Warlords. In Cataclysm, Fresh 85s had very little mana regen, and in Warlords, players will have significantly higher base regen, but they'll have less spirit available from items. So that means deeper mana pool, but less of a way to increase that.
Yeah, that makes sense, because spirit's only going to be on select few items anyway.
Right. So now one of the problems was in Cataclysm was that you couldn't heal anything at the beginning, because you had no way to get it. You had no way to get mana. You'd be like 3 heals and done. So I'm really looking forward to this. Darius, you've played a healer recently. What do you think about the deeper mana pool just in general?
I think it's fine, because we saw in Cataclysm, as you geared up, in Mists of Pandaria as well, Spirit got out of control.
Yeah.
There was just way too much of it. So giving people a higher base regen so that at the beginning they are just not starved for mana and constantly looking for Spirit, but allowing them to get more Spirit if they need it later on from items is, I think, the way to do it.
Yeah, and that was another thing that he mentioned. He was talking about the problems that we had in Mists of Pandaria, and it was, basically mana is no longer important at the end of an expansion. We are just basically going through a rotation of our healing, which is totally true. We were just going through a rotation and just saying, you know what, it doesn't matter. The actual damage doesn't matter. We're just going to go through and just going to heal up everybody the same way that we've always done it. Who cares?
Yeah, healing's become, and it almost always does the end of the expansion, and this is the problem that I think they're trying to overcome, is that we're comparing, and we always do, we compare the end of an expansion stats and gear and everything to the beginning of the next expansion, which is not a 1-to-1 comparison. No. Not at all. But that's what we do because that's what we experienced and are going to experience.
Yeah.
So they're trying to solve that problem. But as of right now, yeah, you just go into a raid and you just hit all your buttons because none of your mana is ever going to deplete. And that again, like we did going into Cataclysm and going into MOP, you're not going to be able to do that in Warlords. But instead of just saying deal with it, gear's going to get better, I think they're trying to educate people and say be a smarter healer and more efficient. And that's how it's going to be for the entire expansion, not just get more gear to fix it.
Right.
Which I think is the right way to do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And we've talked about this on the show before, how healing has become kind of a whack-a-mole type of system where you're just like pushing buttons as, just to try to top people off as quickly as possible. And they don't like that. They don't, so I mean, it's trying to make sure that we have some kind of challenge and can go through and actually think, because that's what healers, that's why you join a support class. So you can kind of think a little bit more instead of just focusing on the boss or the ads or whatever you need to focus on for that. So
right, like killing the boss in progression,
right?
Destroying the encounter, right? Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Well, and that and like smart heals, it was just like right now I'm not very happy with the way healing is in Mist.
Well, the smart heals thing is kind of funny. It's like the shamans, you throw down the healing tide and it's like, do your thing, chicken wing, and it just like does it.
Right.
It just heals for you and you can just kick back and it's great, you know, but yeah, it kind of takes out the thinking aspect of it and your totem's just doing it. So.
Yeah. And then you're just sitting there and you're like drooling, just staring at a screen, clicking buttons.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like
that's like every healer. Is that what you're saying? Every healer.
Healers have become hunters. I don't understand how that happened.
Whoa.
Let's not go that far.
Listen, Zug can say that because he also plays a hunter.
That's
so it's
right.
okay for him to say that.
That's right.
It's all right.
I can get away with it. Although I think Wyatt, our friend Wyatt, is now really pissed at me. I think that's probably true.
Absolutely.
Now, the other thing that he brought up as far as Cataclysm versus Warlords goes is that in Cataclysm, your only efficient heal really were the small heals, right? So for Rest of Druids,
this is the most important point too.
Yeah,
this that he makes here.
Yes, this is really good. So he says, it's your smallest heal. So like Nourish for Druids was like the best, most efficient heal that you could throw out at any given time. In Warlords, however, he says, even if you're running on fumes mana-wise, you can still sustain a steady stream of greater heal or healing touch or something along those lines. You aren't helpless. This is actually really big. Right, Darius?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is basically, if you've gotten to the point where you're at 5% mana or less, you're not stuck with your Nourish or your heal, or whatever your smallest but most efficient heal is. Right. And at that point, it's a losing game. You can still get off a greater heal, a healing touch, something big to make sure that people stay alive. But I think the point they're trying to make, though, is if you get to this point, mana-wise, you've done something wrong to get there. But you're not completely, as he says, helpless when you're there. At this point, you should hope that another healer can make up for what you've done or something like that. But this it doesn't just leave you totally useless at that point.
Well, I always liked, especially during Cataclysm, I think that's where I felt it the most, was when you're going through those leveling dungeons and you're tapped on mana and you're like, okay guys, I'll see you later. Hope you live through it, whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah, because your mana regen is so low, when you're at, just in general, but when you're at 5%, getting back up to 10% to get off your greater heal or whatever, you're just like, forget it. That's never happening.
Right.
I'm just not going to heal for 10 seconds and just watch everybody die.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Colt, what was the last healer that you played? I know that you played a Resto Druid for a while.
Resto Druid and little Resto Shaman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I did Resto Druid progression through Wrath. But that was different. Like in Wrath, it was like rejuve everyone and win.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the way that it is now, too. It's just rejuve everybody, win, and, we have more hots that we can throw out now. It's just wild growth, rejuve, whatever, who cares?
No, totally. But But I know that feeling like when you're out of mana, you're and all you're doing is spamming that button, waiting for that little hotbar thing to light up, that you have the tiniest amount of mana to use, and like, whoop, and then hopefully that'll be the one heal that'll save the group. But yeah, really, you're just literally standing there like an idiot. Like, well, I'm
you're staring at the screen angrily.
Right.
And you're like,
you're stressed.
Come on, let's move here, people.
Right.
And it's just you get nothing. So yeah.
Right. But it's true though. Like, that is, I kind of like that consequence. Like, well, had I not been so, free with my mana. Right. But then, of course, no one is going to blame themselves. They'll say, well, if the DPS hadn't have stood in the fire, or that tank hadn't have done this, because it's never, our fault. I mean, of course.
No.
But yeah, I've definitely been there, man. I've definitely been there where you're just kind of standing around and,
just waiting on it. Yep. Mm-hmm. And basically, another thing that Ian said in this forum post was that the goal is not to make healing more difficult. And he's not calling healing easy, although I probably would call it something similar to that.
Yeah.
Mindless, maybe, right now. We want to slow the pace down a bit, and for the challenge in healing to lie more in the decisions about spell usage and targeting, and less in twitch reaction and sustaining a DPS-style rotation, which I agree with. This also means that the cost of a mistake is not a dead player, but rather a more injured one, giving you a chance to fix your error. And I think that this is also pretty cool, because right now it seems like, especially as we've gone through the last few bosses in heroic progression, that a lot of these things are one shots or so quick that you can't react to it. So
and that's what I'm seeing in LFRs and such, is people that are going in aren't reading these things. They're not paying attention to the changes, and they're going in and they're just spamming heals, trying to keep everybody 100%. And that's not how Warlords healing will be at all. You're going to be healing people at 50, 60% and getting them to 70%. And that will be enough, because there won't be this spike damage. There won't be this constant influx of damage on the whole raid all the time. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a more slower burn on those kind of things. And you're seeing this across the board with tanks too, not just DPS. They changed all that last week or the week before. So tanks now take way less damage. But their cooldowns are adjusted for that, and it's less spiky. It's more to make healing, as he said, what is he calls it, a less twitch reaction is what he calls it.
Yeah. Well, we got to get the word out, because I'm telling you, like, we know that, and the people listening know that, but the majority of the WoW community doesn't know that. Lorvos in the chat room was saying that he just ran an LFR, this is in Warlords, of course, and he said every single healer was out of mana, done, like on the trash.
Yeah.
You know
and
what I
then
mean?
Then it's just people getting angry, and the healer's getting angry, they have no mana, DPS angry because they're dead, and it's
so I think what you're saying then, Colt, is that we need all of our listeners to tell everybody else in World of Warcraft to listen to our show.
Yes,
is that what you're saying?
That is exactly what I'm saying. That's amazing. That is 100% what I'm telling them.
Right.
But it's an impossible thing, because what do we love? We love someone else telling us how to play our class. People love that.
Yeah.
Oh, they love it. Let it wash over me. They love it. Yeah, so I think we're all pretty much screwed at this point. It's like,
it is kind of one of those things, and it's going to take a while for people to adjust to the new healing regime in 6.0 and beyond. I think that we're going to go through some pain, especially when that first hits and we try to go through Siege of Orgrimmar in our mythic 20-man team, and realize that it is not as easy as it was before, or it's very, very different, especially for the healing on the healing front. That's going to be a switch.
It's going to be an adjustment. I was fighting Nir Zul in the 5-man, just normal dungeon, and I was like, "Where are the heals?" Like, I wasn't getting any heals, and look, it's completely Like the healer's just and you can't blame the healer, especially right now, because it's an adjustment.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everyone's learning, but we wiped just because. And then then that healer left.
Yeah.
And then the next healer came in, same deal. Same deal.
And that never happens, especially on beta or PTR or on live, where somebody bails and then you have to wait for 2 minutes and then you wipe again and then somebody bails and then you have to wait and then you wipe again. And
Right.
Yeah, that type of thing
never happens.
Never happens at all.
It's going to be an adjustment. It's going to be a lot of fights coming out where everybody's at 30% health. And the biggest adjustment, though, is the fact that all the big damage, the spiky damage like we see now, is going to be coming from DPS standing and stuff. And I don't think that change is going to make its way through. I think we're still going to see DPS standing in just about everything. So,
well, quick question. Jaztra in the chat room says there's no direct negative consequences to DPS.
No, they're death.
Death, yeah.
Besides death.
The thing is
standing and stuff is going to result in unnecessary spiky damage that a healer just won't be able to keep up with. So it's either the healer spends all his mana healing you back up so you don't die from standing and stuff, or heals the rest of the raid who's not standing and stuff but's taking normal damage. So that choice has to be made. And that ends up with that hunter dying from standing and stuff. I mean, I'm not assuming it's a hunter, but
why has it got to be a hunter?
It's probably a hunter.
As long as you're not saying Windwalker Monk, I'm cool. I'm cool.
Sorry, Wyatt. All right. But I mean, that is kind of one of the things. I think that they're going to put a lot more personal responsibility on DPS to keep up their end of the bargain of taking as little damage as possible so that you can heal up slowly and properly. It's going to be weird for everybody. So just get ready for it and be mindful of that, especially as we go into 6.0 in a couple of weeks here, guys. This is right around the corner. So yeah, it's things are going to get weird. That's all I'm going to say about that. But anything else on healing that you guys want to bring up? Because we can move it along, I think.
Let's move it. We got to move it.
Sounds good. And the way that we're going to move it is with names. They talked about names and about how they're going to be taking back some names. They're going to make sure that there are names available on every server.
Which is good.
Yeah. So if you haven't been on a character in 6 years.
6 years. That's a lot. That's a huge grace period.
If you haven't been on your character since November 13th, 2008, when Warlords hits, guess what? You're going to lose your name. What?
But now hold on. Yes, but that doesn't mean that you should then now go log in to that character. Don't do it. Because you clearly don't play that character, so why be a jerk? Why log in and save that name? Give up that wonderful name that you reserved 6 years ago, that other people have logged in and said, create name, and they say name unavailable.
Right.
Well, now because of you, because you're not going to log in, that name will be available. And I'm telling you, if there's some dancing bear on my head, I would say to you, no, but I will say, I reserved some great names back in the day. Listen to this. I have the name Morgan. That's a great, paladin name, Morgan. Mm-hmm. And I'm intentionally not logging that dude in because I'm going to free it up for somebody. Some point, someone's going to have that name Morgan. So I think all of us need to band together and give up those great names because it's been 6 years, man. If you're not playing it now, you're not going to play it. Let that name be free.
Years.
Right.
You got to think, there's a lot of people that have stopped playing the game over those 6 years too, so I think you might end up seeing some cool names.
Yeah, like Jerkface, JJKKL.
Morgan. I can't wait to take the name Morgan for my paladin.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you what server, but it's gone. I'm going to make sure that name is available. That's a great name.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to log in. I want it to be free.
I named one of my characters Freeman. It was a Worgen. It was a Worgen. So,
Worgen Freeman. That's
Worgen Freeman.
Classic, though.
I know, that's awesome, right? And it was on a very low population server, and that won't be available on that server though because it hasn't been 6 years.
Well,
I wonder why they picked 6 years too, not 2 years or last week. Why this date? Why so long ago?
I just wonder if this is catering towards that hoarding characteristic in human beings, where I might use that one day. So I'll keep it. Because you never know. One day I might need this. And maybe it's that same way they feel that about character names. One day I might log into this guy. You know, what I'm telling you is you won't. So just let it be free.
I remember one of the first 2 names I have, and I wonder if I still have it on this server, was my character's name. The full thing was the letters BM. That's it. It was just 2 letters, and it was BM, and it was short for bored mind, until someone pointed out to me that it could be short for bowel movement.
Right.
So I then changed my name to something else, but I wonder if that's still out there.
Right.
Because I want that
and it's
back.
true. Northern Man in the chat saying, why not just delete your unused avatars? And yes, of course, I agree. But there is that characteristic, well, one day. So I'm just saying, just free the names.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Let them be free.
We'll see. In other news, there was a post this week that I don't understand, and the only reaction that I have is, huh? It was the Engineers Workshop Engine Evolution in Warlords of Draenor. And I'm just like, okay.
Well, it was like behind the scenes.
I know, it sounds really exhaustive to me. It sounds exhausting, actually, to me. Because I'm like reading it and I'm like, okay, this sounds, so we're going to get better graphics or different graphics and it'll be less latency. I mean, you know, that kind of stuff is kind of cool.
Basically,
right?
what they're saying is WoW is going to run faster and look better.
All right, I can get behind that.
That's pretty much it. Yeah,
I can get, but I was like reading this and I'm like going, I don't get it. This is clearly not for me.
Well, there is a lot of mumbo jumbo code stuff in there, but but Darius, you kind of deal with that stuff. Like for your job. So to you, this is like, oh my God, this is awesome. They're going to the CMA with the ACCP and the blah, blah, blah. Like, I have no idea what it means. But what I'm getting from this is, like you said, less latency. Graphics are going to be great. Like one of the big draws, I think, of World of Warcraft is the tight gameplay. Like it feels very tight. And it feels, so if it's going to be even more tight in Warlords, I don't know what the word would be, but if it's going to feel even tighter, then that's great.
Yeah,
it's only a good thing. So but yeah, I don't understand a lot of it, but it looks cool.
Darius, what do you? So what? Other than that basic little gist of it, what else was going on with it? Maybe you
that's
can
pretty
explain
much it. So they're changing the default. Basically, the default way they're handling anti-aliasing in the game from one thing to another, and it's been one way for years, almost 10 years now. It's been this one way, and that way is no longer the most efficient way out there. So they're just saying, you know, graphics cards have improved, our engine has improved, we can now do this, we're going to do this, it's going to make it better. And this is mostly for people on lower end machines. People that are on high end machines are not going to see too much of an improvement because they're already getting the most out of the game and they're already getting, you know, a pretty smooth play style. But people that are maybe middle tier and lower tier are going to see an improvement over how well the game runs. Well,
that's good for Raiders, man. I mean, we got to know that stuff. So that just means that we're going to be able to play better.
And a lot of people associate lag in the game. They say, "Oh, I'm lagging," and they think it's the internet. When majority of the time, it's actually graphical or CPU lag or something like that, where the game is slow. And that's because your computer can't process everything that's coming in, or there's too much going on. That's why, like, you don't want to fight like Nazgrim when everybody pulls and they're AoEing down all that trash all at once. Everyone's saying lag, lag, lag. Well, it's not internet lag; it's computer lag. There's a lot of spells going out and stuff, and things like this will help to alleviate some of that. So that's all that's going on here. There's nothing you have to do by default. This will be turned on, and will be the default setting. So that's pretty much it.
Now everybody can jack it up to Ultra. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So just jack it up to Ultra, everybody. Please. All right. Before we get into some listener mail and stuff like that, let's talk a little Audible. Let's do it. Now, you can try Audible free for 30 days and get your free audiobook just by going to audible.com/gamebreaker. And I'm sure that you've heard on this show us talk about Audible before, and we've probably even played you some clips, normally from like World of Warcraft stuff. I thought I'd play something a little bit different today. And I thought I would play some Will Wheaton. Everybody loves Will Wheaton.
Quill Wheaton?
Quill Wheaton.
Quill Wheaton.
That's right. But the thing that you got to know about Audible, these audiobooks are amazing. And if you're like somebody who goes through traffic a lot, like LA traffic, like Coltrane, this is going to be perfect for you guys. I'm going to play you some Ready Player One. Great book.
I love this book.
I was going to say that I agree it will help.
Yeah.
Really?
It will help.
Yes, it will. So we're going to play down some Ready Player One. This is an amazing book. It's a futuristic look with a lot of nostalgia in it. And it's just a lot of fun. And Will does a great job at reading it. Here we go.
Most of Parzival TV's regular viewers were gunters who monitored my vid feed with the hope that I'd inadvertently reveal some key piece of information about the Jade Key or the egg itself. I never did, of course. At the moment, Parzival TV was wrapping up a non-stop 2-day Kikator marathon. Kikator was a late 70s Japanese action show about a red and blue android who beat the crap out of rubber-suited monsters in each episode. I had a weakness for vintage kaiju and tokusatsu, shows like Spectre-Man, The Space Giants, and Supaida-Man.
Spectre-Man. It's just kind of cool, nice, nostalgic stuff. And the book is actually really a lot of fun. Very good.
If you've not listened to that book, stop listening to the show right now.
Well, not right now. We're getting toward the end of the show. So after this show, maybe we go and
after the show.
What? Yes.
What?
So after this show, go to audible.com/gamebreaker and try Audible free for 30 days. Get your free audiobook. Get Ready Player One if you haven't read it, if you haven't heard it. Make sure to get that audiobook right now. It's amazing. I think everybody on this that listens to this show will love it. So
it is. It's a winner.
It's
I can't help it. I just can't.
All right. Let's go into some Leading the Raid.
Leading the Raid.
All right. When we can, we take a look at leadership issues for raiders in World of Warcraft. And this week, we take a look at a listener question. And Coltrane, you're up, buddy.
This is from Thilix from Uldamon Alliance side. Hate the show.
Right.
No, love the show. All right. There we go. I flop those words. I've been debating emailing y'all in regards to this for a few days. And as you can see, I've decided to seek the help of the masters. Wow. My friends and I recently transferred to the Alliance from Horde so we could raid with an active guild. When we transferred to the new guild, they were doing Flex 1.
Oh, you actually got the letter in there. That's amazing. That's kind of cool, though.
I didn't know that would come across. Screen region. All right, let's move that back.
All right.
Over here. They have the members and the... Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'm still in Shadow Moon. I know we can't have nice things. This giant letter showed up behind me in Shadow Moon. It was insane.
A new spell.
Yeah. All right.
My friends and I recently transferred the Alliance from the Horde so we could raid with an active guild. When we transferred to the new guild, they were doing Flex 1 and only Flex 1. They have the members and the gear to be able to do more, but didn't seem to have the drive. Cue us. We got in, and with our pushing, we've started working on normal Siege of Orgrimmar. So we've downed everything but the Shah, but should have it down soon. The problem is that when it comes to when we wipe, they decide that we either need to A, tell everyone all the fight details again, or B, completely change the strat, and then explain the details again. And even when the original plan was good and small mistakes were responsible for the wipe, we still always re-explain everything. How do we go about explaining these fights and the fails and mechanics without offending this group of people? We don't have the people to raid solo, and barely might be able to pull off Flex if we had to. I've been a hardcore raider in the past, but this group is way more casual. We don't want to make it seem like a hardcore push, but it doesn't seem like they want to learn the mechanics that need to be learned in order to progress.
All right, so we're talking about how do we talk to a casual group of raiders without... we want to push progression, but at the same time, we don't want to, make people angry, and we don't want to, make them feel bad necessarily, but we just want to move this thing along. But it seems like they're going about it kind of weird, a little bit. If they're changing their strats or talking, making sure to go over the details every time, right, Darius? Seems
yeah, I'd say the option B that they're doing, where they completely change the strat every time they wipe, is counterproductive to progression. Every time you change something, 10 people have to learn it again, and there's more and more room for error there when you are making a change every single time. Explaining everything every wipe isn't the worst thing. It does waste time, but there's possibly people in the group that are wiping to something because they don't understand it or they didn't hear it, and it could be 2 or 3 people. But this one's tough for me, because what I would do is I would say, we've made this mistake. It was the hunter made this mistake. He stood in something, and that's why we wiped.
We're really picking on hunters today.
Oh yeah,
it's not fair at all.
You're right. We should stop, guys. We need to stay focused and not focused.
Show's over. Show's over.
All right. I'm sorry. That's it.
So that's how I would go about it. But if it's very casual and people don't like that kind of stuff, then maybe explaining it every wipe is what you have to do. I know it does waste time, and maybe that's maybe this isn't what you're looking for, though, and this is maybe not the guild you should be in or something.
Maybe one of the things is that people should be asking questions instead of, or the raid leadership should be asking questions of the people that aren't performing the way that they should, right? So instead of going over all the details, ask somebody why they died, for example, or why they weren't standing with a group, or why did you decide to go off on your own and go act like a crazy person in the corner over here for a little bit when you know that we're all over here like beating up a boss? That whatever the question is, ask questions and then directly respond to those questions with the strategy. Just say, no, you have to be over here because otherwise this thing goes off and it kills everybody. Whatever the case may be, whatever the mechanics are. So... And you have got some light going off behind you, Coltrane. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on. I have a hammer in my head. Oh, okay, it's gone.
All
that
right.
was causing one heck of a headache.
I bet.
I mean, my goodness gracious.
I bet. Do you have any thoughts here?
Well, I kind of rereading the email here.
Yeah.
So here's what happened. Basically, he is transferred and joined this team that is incredibly, I don't want to say casual in nature, but more casual in nature. They're doing Flex 1 and only Flex 1.
Right.
And then he says, cue us, him and his buddy. We got in, and with our pushing, we've now started working on normal Siege of Orgrimmar. In other words, him and his buddy are like pretty advanced players. He himself used to raid hardcore. I think the problem, believe it or not, is them. They have joined the wrong team for them. This is not for them. Him and his buddy are way more hardcore, are way more into it. They want to push progression, which is great, but this team does not. And I think that this is just not the right fit. What you're trying to do is you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole here. The team is much more casual. They like to figure stuff out, or like, oh, let's re-talk about everything. Let's redo that. And that's fine for them. But you and your buddy, you want to down bosses. You want to progress. I think the best thing to do here is you got to find another team. You got to find another team because you're fighting an uphill battle against 8 other people if this is a 10-man. So I think that the problem might be yourself and your friend. I think you guys need to find another team that is more progression-based and more wants to kill bosses. It'll be better for you, and it'll be better for the team as well, because it sounds to me like this team just wants to kick back and play WoW and chill. Don't really care about killing bosses. So.
Right.
That's my thinking.
That's very insightful.
I think it's the hammer in the head.
You know,
it does things.
Yeah, normally that's not your style at all, but that was very insightful.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Right.
I don't know. Anything else to add, Darius, on that?
No, I think Colt's right on that one. I think.
Jeez, you're agreeing with Coltrane? What is going on?
I think the writer might have joined the wrong raid team, and it sounds like he's frustrated with what they're doing, and they were happy with where they were.
Right.
So unfortunately, might need to find a new spot.
Right.
Asparagus Initiative is recruiting for Warlords.
Yeah.
Well, now Killer Tofu is saying all you need to do is shave down the edges on that square peg, and it will fit. That's true. I mean, that is true. You just slightly, but I'm just saying, just to you're going to be frustrated, and you're going to get everybody. I would say just find another team, man. I'm telling you can find another more progression based team, and you and your buddy can have a great time. We're going to be happy.
By the way, fellas, you should find some less traveled roads in your travels in WoW, because man, I tell you, those everybody's finding you wherever you're at. And they are throwing all sorts of spell effects, and your graphics are just going in the toilet. It's amazing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. All I'm saying is your Skype feed is really not great right now.
Really? Is it like all jagged?
It's a little jagged. Darius is really jagged right now.
Yeah, I think it's not me. Yeah. I think it's Skype itself.
It's just not being able to keep up with all the action going on in the background there. Look at all that. It's just pixelated stuff.
Goodness.
So there we go. There we go. Yeah.
Now
there you go. Now it's just black.
Yeah, I'm in the blackness.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Now you're in your heart.
Ouch.
Ouch. Your black heart.
Oh, that was good. That was good. All right, let's go to the mailbag here.
We've got mail.
We do. And if you have a question about anything for us, about rating or anything else, just let us know. We'll try to answer it on the show. You can always email us at converttoraid@gmail.com. Call us on our raid line, 612-787-RAID, or you can join us during the live show. Try to flag us down, and we'll see what's going on. I don't know.
I was just, Darius, I love you. I'm sorry. I saw an opening and I had to take it. I'm sorry.
This is my last show on Convert to Raid. I can't handle this anymore.
I'm sorry.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, let's get to these questions here. And, Darius, can you take this first one, please?
Nope.
Oh, nope.
So this is from Darrow on Airy Peak.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I know we are all pretty sick of hearing about garrisons, but bear with me.
All right.
I don't know if I've said that, but maybe. I think garrisons are going to be a lot of fun. He says, with smarter NPCs populating our garrisons, the ability to place buildings where we want instead of where Blizzard has them coded, and the option to bring in other players into it, could this be Blizzard's test for user-created content? Dungeons, small quest zones, etc. I know it would be a long way off, but this seems like a decent first step. Thoughts?
Right. Coltrane. What do you think? So basically what he's asking is this like the starter for player-created content? So player-created zones, even dungeons, whatever it may be. Do you think that this is like the intro into that type of setup or not?
No, but it would be incredible if it was.
Yeah. No,
because I think that world-created, like user-created content, like that's one of those things that like sounds brilliant, like on paper. It sounds incredible. But then you look at things like Neverwinter, right? Mm-hmm. Neverwinter had user-created, you could create dungeons. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing, user-created content. But what the players do, like nobody ruins something better than people. Like people will ruin a wonderful idea so quickly. So what did they do in Neverwinter? Game developers said, hey, you can build your own dungeons. You can build your own adventures. So what do? They build like a pit, and they put all these NPCs in the pit, and they can't get out of it. And you can DPS the NPCs. They can't touch you, and you can level up to max level in a day.
Right.
Like they just will exploit. You know what I mean? So people will ruin everything. Yeah. So this user-created content thing is a real slippery slope because gamers are smart. Gamers will find any possible way to get an edge, to get an advantage. And I think that would happen here with user-created content. Yeah. I would love it. More than anything, I would love it. But I just don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately.
I think that this is their answer to player-created content, actually.
Yeah.
This is what they've said. No, you know what? Instead of doing it this way, we're going to do it a World of Warcraft way, and this is the way that we're going to do it. Not opening ourselves up to build it yourself or break it yourself gaming, I guess, is kind of what it is if you're exploiting the system, essentially. So, yeah, I mean, it would be cool. But no.
And you get like people, you know, they're saying it in the chat room. I can't repeat it because we're not an explicit podcast. But there would be like oddly shaped buildings.
It would be something Pix
Right.
Something
Like,
picks, yeah.
everything will be ruined by people. It's people! You know what I mean? That's what it is.
These garrisons, Blizzard is giving you the illusion of choice, but you're not really choosing much here. You're getting a very small set of things you can place, and a very small set you can place them. So you're not getting what you would think is player created content in any way. And then, like with Neverwinter, the thing I always go back to in my head is Star Wars Galaxies. It had player created towns and houses and everything. And you want to talk about the most depressing, desolate scene. You go to any planet in Star Wars Galaxies, and where there was user created content, it was just miles of houses that were probably created but had just been left to sit there, and just there was nobody there. They weren't kept up, and you get to the end and there was your house finally, a mile and a half.
But that's now. Like now they're empty. But at the time, man, and I was there, and sweet, it was amazing. You know what I mean?
They were full, but as soon as the subscription count started to suffer, it was so sad. It was like
ghost towns.
It was just ghost towns. It was horrible.
And you could do something similar in ArcAge right now, but there is that kind of land rush where there's only a certain amount of area. Like what's different about ArcAge was there's just only certain areas that you can place stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but no, you're right. And then eventually, I'm sure with ArcAge, if when it slows down, the areas will be empty. But man, Star Wars Galaxies, man, when you had that player created town, man, and it was like just buzzing. Oh, it's the best.
It's kind of like
house by the lake. Oh, it was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, Galaxies did a lot of things right that I wish WoW did. When you killed a boss or got something rare, you could stick like its head or an insignia from it in your house, and then anyone could come in and take a look at it. That'd be cool. And everyone had areas where they could go. It wasn't just like a garrison where it's phased. They had guild houses and all that. It was great, but as soon as that NGE hit and everybody left, it was so depressing.
I really do want them to have the guild housing. I wanted that ever since I heard about garrisons. I was like, guild housing would be so fantastic, and especially for the convert to raid.
Except it wouldn't work for us because we'd have to have 10 guild houses.
Yeah, we'd have to have 10 guild houses. But
the tools are there now with garrisons. The tools are there.
Right.
That doesn't mean in a future expansion or in a future patch. I mean, the tools are there. This phasing technology, everything's all there.
Yeah.
That we can do it.
Let's just put guild houses in the middle of Ashran, so people have to PvP get to their guild house.
Yes.
Let's get our listeners and viewers upset about Ashran again, shall we?
Let's do it. Let's get everybody fired up.
Oh boy, I don't know. All right, let's move it along to our next question, and this is from Jeff DeSneaky. On Feathermoon, and he says, with us getting new legendary quest line for the ring coming in WoD, will this be a must-have for raiders, or will it be more optional? I feel like the legendary back piece made it unfair for us laid-back raiders, because if you didn't have it, your spot in the raid was less stable. So, the ring, is it going to be optional, or is it going to be mandatory?
It's going to be mandatory, just like the back piece.
It's going to be best in slot, right?
Yep. And you're going to have it if you're, same kind of thing. Like everyone's going to say you don't have the cloak, so you can't raid with us. That's what's going to happen here. There are going to be other legendaries that they've talked about that are going to be much more difficult to get and require, a organized raid team and doing mythic content, things like that, which aren't going to be mandatory. Yep. But the ring is going to be just like the cloak.
The nice thing that's different is that you'll be able to start your ring quest starting at level 98. So you don't have to be max level yet to be able to start that ring quest line going into Warlords. So that's kind of nice.
And if the MOP timetable is anything for Warlords, you're going to have 6 or 7 years to work on it. So don't worry about it.
Right.
I think the answer is depends to solve my urination problem.
Right.
But
I think
in regards to the ring, I think it might depend on your raid team. If you've got a more kind of casual base, like, we're just going to have fun and just kind of chill, then it won't be maybe a mandatory requirement. It depends on your team, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you're in a more progression-based team, then yes, I think that is going to be something that is definitely going to be needed. So I think, believe it or not, that's going to vary from team to team. There are those right now screaming at your monitor saying, of course it'll be mandatory for you and your team. But consider for other teams out there, no, if you got it, great. If not, no big deal. We're just here to get together once or twice a week and just have some fun.
And remember that normal and heroic rating are going to be flexible.
Right.
So you can bring in somebody who may not have their legendary quite yet, but see how they do before you actually say, no, you're horrible or whatever the case may be. I mean, you can kind of judge them by bringing them into the group first instead of saying, no, we're only taking people with legendary items. So that's kind of nice as well. Especially for those more laid-back raiders. Mm-hmm. So that's good.
Depends, baby.
Depends.
Depends.
We have one last question, don't we, Coltrane?
We do from Jagura from Laughing Skull US. If Group Finder takes off and becomes commonly used, do you think it will replace not only Raid Finder, but the Dungeon Finder as well? Now, keep in mind, Group Finder. That when people hear that, they think of the Dungeon Finder. This is a new thing that Blizzard is implementing in Warlords of Draenor.
Right.
While I'm thankful for Dungeon Finder and initially Raid Finder before going exclusively Flex Normal, I feel that with things like Open Raid and OQ, that having Dungeon Finder and Raid Finder are simply unnecessary and redundant. I don't want to spit on the casual raiders, but I feel like this Group Finder, providing it takes off, could lead to less go in, do the dungeon, go out, and have more long-term benefits. Thanks. Keep up the good work.
And I think that part is definitely right. That it could have a lot of great long-term benefits, but at the same time, is it going to replace Raid Finder, Dungeon Finder? I doubt it.
No, because the majority of people are going to use Raid Finder and Dungeon Finder to find their groups. The vast majority. You'll find the top 1% or whatever the mythic raiders, or even people that just want a quick, maybe the top 10% are going to use this, but the 90% are going to use Dungeon Finder, Raid Finder because they work and they work well for what you're trying to do. You've got people that want this quick heroic scenario, so they might be use the Group Finder, which works for that. So
yep.
That's all.
Yeah, Easy Target in the chat room, and this is, of course, referring to the version on live right now. The only part I see people using this are the world bosses and possibly flex versions. And it's true, like I use the in-game finder thing right now just for Celestials and Ordos. That's pretty much all I use it for. This what they're doing with it and expanding and all that, it's going to be amazing in Warlords.
Yeah.
But the thing is time will tell. People are so used to Raid Finder and Dungeon Finder right now that they're going to be like, what is this Group Finder? And they're going to launch it and be like, I got to set up my own group. Well, that's too crazy. I'm going to stick with what I know. So people tend to, change is hard. People tend to stick with what they know. So I don't know. I mean, time will tell. Maybe this thing will take off.
Yeah, and it could really work for Mythic Raiders, I think, especially because that is a fixed number, right? So if you are running a Mythic team and let's say you're short one person, you're like, oh man, I need somebody. And somebody happens to be in the system that has the appropriate gear level and looks like the appropriate class for your composition and all that kind of stuff. It could work pretty well for Mythic raid leaders or raid leaders anywhere, really, if they feel like they need another person or something like that. So, time will tell. But I think that I have great hope for this system as providing some really good long-term benefits for players out there that are maybe, just queuing up for LFR. So I think that'll be good. All right. We are going to get out of here. But before we do, I'm going to play this music.
Oh.
So there. And we are going to do the old 5-star reviews, aren't we, Darius?
Yeah. We've got Bolka, Shane Beineman, Mouse Divided, I like that one, and Mr. Fury Warrior.
Not just Fury Warrior, that's Mr. Fury Warrior.
That's right.
Oh, boy. Now, any shout-outs this week here, fellas?
I have a big shout-out to Bashiok, who is getting married.
Bashiok! Ashiok! Hold on.
Ashiok!
Hold on. I want to make sure that I can play the big applause.
Yes, he is tying the knot. So huge shout out to Bashiak. Congratulations. Awesome, wonderful, wonderful. Man.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So,
Do you think his wife has a big mustache too?
I don't think so. I'm really not thinking that.
I don't know. I just feel like that's a prerequisite
That would be-
for being
that
in
would
that
be-
family.
that'd be Mrs. Stashiok to you.
Right. She'd
Yeah.
be barking up the wrong tree.
Oh, see
I guess.
that.
All right.
that-
I'm sorry.
All right. But thank you guys for sticking through that joke and for listening and
What?
watching to this show.
You mean the entire show?
As always, thank you for taking the time to rate us on iTunes. Thanks for checking us out on YouTube and wherever you're finding us. Thank you guys so much. And I'm going to, I'm going to bail on the music. There we go.
Go read Ready Player One.
Go read Ready Player One. Do that.
Or listen.
Yeah,
You're
and
just
I'm
going to bail out out of that
I'm
music?
going to bail out of that, and I'm going to play this one. There we go. Ooh, it's a little different one. All right, we cannot do this show without you guys, and you guys can talk to us in so many different ways. You can email us at converttoraid@gmail.com. You can call us, leave comments and questions on our raid line, which is 612-787-7243. You can follow us on Twitter at converttoraid, or even individually. Isn't that right, Mr. Shades?
That's right, baby. You can follow Pat Crane at Pat Crane. You can follow Coltrane at _Coltrane. And you can follow Darius at Board My.
Yes, and please join the Bazooba Guabo Nation by heading over to converttoraid.com, where we have our show downloads, our forums, our videos, tons of links for raiders, so much more, especially if you want to get into, if you're looking at switching over into the Convert to Raid Guild. We have a whole new system in the background going on over there. It's pretty incredible stuff. Darius has been working his magic over there. Crazy. It's awesome. All right. Our live feed and video show is also over at gamebreaker.tv. Please make sure to watch, like, comment, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your mom and her friends and all that kind of stuff.
Mom!
We're on YouTube right now.
We're on YouTube, Mom!
The audio show is over at Stitcher, iTunes. Also, I updated a bunch of different stuff. So if you can't find us on your directory of choice, just let us know. I'll try to update it. And that is going to be it for the show. Hope you guys had a good time. I know that we did. And thank you once again for tuning in. We'll see you on our next show, which will be in 2 weeks. Next week we're off. Next week I'm in Colorado. But we'll be back in 2 weeks with some special guests, hopefully. And that will be Sunday, 11 a.m. Central. And for all the guys at Convert to Raid, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Is that a dancing bear behind you, Coltrane?
Yes. The glory!